LLC. The opinions expressed are not those of Town Square Media or station advertisers.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now, the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Okay, so once again, I spilled coffee right before the show. That's kind of my new thing, you know? What? What? I dirtied Harry's studio? Oh, my God. Sorry about that, Harry. Good to have you with us. Our Saturday morning get-together, Talk with a Purpose is what we call it. Every Saturday, 9 till noon, right here, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5. 609-407-1450. That's our number here, as per usual, in the studio, 609-407-1450. We have our monthly series, Fighting the Opioid Addiction. That's coming up later on in the show. We will have our partners, Recovery Centers of America. We're going to have our good friend, Pastor Zach, is coming back on the show. And we're going to talk about a faith-based recovery program at Recovery Centers of America. You know, they're always at the forefront of a lot of things when it comes to recovery, and we'll talk about that. So stick around for that. Coming up in hour number 3. But in the meantime, we have plenty to talk about here on the show. And as always, like I said, 609-407-1450. A couple of weeks ago here on the show, if you remember, we had some fun with, I guess, our very own informal survey. And we talked about who was the best president in my lifetime. So we took the year 1950, which was the year I was born. And we said, okay, in that time frame, who were the 3 best presidents? And we ranked them. And generally the consensus was Reagan 1, Kennedy 2, Trump 3. And I think we all kind of agreed on that. And again, totally informal, no science involved at all. Just basically, what do you feel? Who do you feel were the best? And that was the ranking: Reagan, Kennedy, Trump. I want you to keep that in mind. All right. Now let's put that on the side for the moment. And now, what we're going to talk about. Well, listen. I expected this, and I was waiting for this. Every time a president leaves office, so President Trump left in January of 21, and then we have a new president, unfortunately. C-SPAN gathers 140 historians, and they rank the presidents. Now, they rank them from the beginning, from George Washington until today, and they change the rankings every time, saying, well, this one makes that one go up and that one go down, and so on and so forth. And here is what they came up with. You know, always Lincoln is always number 1. That hasn't changed. And usually it's Washington 2, Jefferson 3. That's kind of the standard, all right? Guess where Donald Trump came in as far as the rankings are concerned. Now, what have we had? 45 presidents? Okay, we've had 45. So I'm not going to tell you yet. But what they said was, and this was really more about George W. than it was about Donald Trump. And what disturbed me about this evaluation, how many people did Donald Trump kill? How many people, or how many soldiers, how many military people did President Trump get involved in a war, which we had no wars during his administration? But George W., of course we had 9/11, and that wasn't his fault. But he got us into Afghanistan, and remember the old weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, which had nothing to do with anything about 9/11. But he lied. George W. lied.
Yep, you're number 1. Yep.
And so what happened was these historians, they said, we have raised the ranking of George W. because Donald Trump was worse. That's exactly what they said. They said Donald Trump was ranked 41st. 41st. That's what they said. Now, they moved up George W., to 29. So George W. gets moved up because they say only Donald Trump was worse. And what they said, and I'm looking at the article here, here's what they said. Trump's embarrassing post-presidency of incendiary statements and churlish conduct will likely cement his reputation among future scholars as the worst president ever. And what did we say a couple weeks ago? We were just kind of having a conversation, and we said Trump was 3. In my lifetime, I firmly believe that's the ranking for Donald Trump as president. And I'm sure you agree with me. But they moved George W. up from, he was 41 before. Now they moved him to 29. And they kept saying Bush was bad, but Trump was far worse. And how about the trillions of dollars that George W. cost us? Why doesn't he get 41? Why does he get moved up? Because they said Trump was worse? I mean, there was nothing discussed about Trump's list of accomplishments. Nothing. They didn't say anything about the economy. They didn't say anything about the fast tracking of the vaccine. They didn't say anything about his system of limiting immigration, the border wall, all of that stuff. And then Biden gets in there, and it's a free-for-all. So how do these scholars, and again, we call them scholars, they say Trump was bad. Oh, here's what they said. Trump's failures, the end of a promising nuclear deal with Iran, the unraveling of a détente with Cuba. Do you care about that? I don't. 4 years of inaction on climate change. Boy, all of those were really, really, really very important, weren't they? I'm not belittling that, but, I mean, do you see what they're focusing on? And it's ridiculous. And then, of course, they talk about he presided over a pandemic crisis that he woefully mismanaged. How come we didn't say anything about the vaccine again? We didn't say anything about that. Nothing about the vaccine. Nothing about the fast tracking. And what ended, or not, it didn't end. I mean, we still have COVID as a problem. But what kind of really slowed it down tremendously, and that was the vaccine. All of that stuff that they did, all of the closing of the economy, all of the, stop the spread, stay home, don't go anywhere. I mean, they put people in quarantine even if you didn't have it. That's what these scholars said, that Donald Trump, they said the only president they said that he was ahead of is William Henry Harrison, who was in office 30 days and he died of pneumonia. I mean, come on. Is this, this is more liberal garbage. That's exactly what it is. Don't give credit where credit is due, because it's Donald Trump, and I knew this. I was waiting for this survey. I knew that when it came out, years from now, and of course we probably won't be around, but let's say my grandson is an adult and he's discussing with friends and saying, well, Trump was president. He was terrible. And everybody say, oh, yeah. They don't, are the history books going to really say this? They're not going to say anything good about Trump. Well, he's Trump. You can't say anything good about this guy. It's more of the same. Should we be surprised at this? Of course not. C-SPAN and their liberal 140 historians. 609-407-1450. Talk with a Purpose, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5, and I'm John DeMasi. Let's talk to Matt in AC. Matt, good morning. You're back in your leadoff spot.
WPG. Talk Radio.
Matt, are you there? Matt is not there.
Talk to Matt.
Matt, are you there?
You're back. Whoa, man, you got me quick today, buddy.
I'll tell you. That's why you got to stay on the phone.
I'm ready to lead off. Oh, my goodness, man, that was quick. Okay.
You're on.
Listen, I wanted to. I agree with that. That survey is ridiculous. I agree with that 1,000%.
Isn't that ridiculous? 41. They rank him 41. Come on. And George,
he did more good things in his presidency in 4 years than a lot of presidents did in full 8+.
That's right. George W., 29. He was the worst. George W. should be dead last.
Yeah. Well, you got Carter in there. He stunk.
Yes,
you got a bunch of them in there.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, I wanted to talk to you. Now, I've written Biden off, man. I've written him off already. There's something wrong with the guy. We all know that.
Yeah.
But I was watching some of those hearings this week, John, and I saw, General Milley and the Secretary of Defense. I forget his name right now, but him and the head of Homeland Security. Now, the three of them really got me nervous because they are all three of the most incompetent men I've ever seen in my life.
I agree with that.
They could not even, they don't even, John, if you and I were in court, okay, and the judge asked us a question, and we just said, well, I don't know, or I don't recall, or I don't have the information, I'll tell you what would happen. The judge would just say, all right, I'm ready to rule guilty.
Yeah.
And here come the sheriff.
Absolutely.
That's what would happen, Doc.
Absolutely.
All right?
Yeah.
They don't answer a thing. How about this Homeland Security guy? He gets up there. Is it Mayorkas? Who is that guy?
Yeah.
I don't even care. But at any rate, how many Haitians were released into the United States? He says, well, I don't have that information. You don't have that information. You're testifying in front of Senate. You're the head of Secretary of Homeland Defense. You don't have that information? Why do you not have that information? The senators were going. And then, to make it worse, they brought him back a second day, and he still didn't have the information.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
I mean,
absolutely ridiculous. Yeah.
How are these people in positions they're in? That's what I want to know. Now, that really makes me nervous now.
Yeah, well,
I'm telling you, John.
I tell you, that Mark Milley, and I said this last week, he should have been fired. That was treason. I don't care what you say, and I don't care what you think about President Trump. He wasn't going to attack China, and he prided himself on the fact that he did not have any wars in his administration. So why this Mark Milley would go ahead, because they all had this perception of, well, Trump's crazy, Trump's this, Trump's that. No, he's not. That's what you perceive. So, that's ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. He should be fired. He really should. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff commits treason. He should be fired. And like you said, lock him up. Lock him up. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Matt.
That would have happened if Trump was there.
As always, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. And, of course, it's that time of the morning, time for Seth Grossman, Liberty and Prosperity. Seth, an excellent postcard that you're sending out about Yuri Bezmenov, and I know you wanted to talk about that, but that was really well done and right on the money and also very scary.
Yes, because, first of all, that you can get the detail of that card. It should be printed and distributed next week, but it's posted on libertyandprosperity.com. And we asked the question that you have. Well, why are all these professors saying that Trump is the worst president and some of the worst presidents are the best presidents? And we say, why do so many of our teachers, scientists, journalists, and celebrities hate an America built on freedom and the rights and responsibilities of each individual? And a guy gave an answer. 1970, Yuri Bezmenov, and it's spelled Bezmenov. And I invite everybody to either go to our libertyandprosperity.com site and look it up under the search engine or go to any Google browser. He escaped to America and explained why. He was one of thousands of agents of communist regimes not just Russia, but China as well, and Cuba. They all sent thousands of teachers and journalists and scientists and investors here. And their job was to find out who would go with them, whether by bribery or by persuasion. And they would take these people who supported this socialist idea, who hated America, and little by little get them appointed to the library association, or get them hired as a professor, or get them as in some position with a newspaper, or little by little. And Bezmenov said this is a very slow process. It takes 15 to 20 years, and they've been doing that for 50 years. So I urge everybody to look at our website, if for no other reason, because that explains why. It's one thing to say they're lying about this, there's fake news here, the professors are getting it wrong. But why are they getting it wrong? And Bezmenov explained the whole thing back 35 years ago. Anyway, the top issue that I'd like to talk about this morning is that $3.5 trillion so-called, I don't know what they call it, the stimulus package, the reconciliation bill. And really the news is not telling you anything about this. Not even Republicans are saying much about it. And I think I understand exactly what this is about, because I was lucky enough, as you know, last week I was in Florida, and I was driving on this godforsaken road between Fort Myers and West Palm Beach, where the only radio station I could pick up was National Public Radio and their Science Friday. And basically, you had a New York Times reporter interviewing a so-called science. They had a panel of various people, and they were saying that this entire $3.5 trillion bill is designed to fundamentally change America and really screw us up by destroying all coal, oil, and natural gas power plants, by imposing an 8% tax. And it's starting with an 8% tax. They said if 8% isn't enough, we'll just raise it to 20%. Whatever it takes so that no electricity in America will be generated with coal, oil, or natural gas. And that's going to force the price up to astronomical levels. And they're going to replace it with solar panels and wind turbines out in the ocean, which we know don't work. And we have a lot of stuff posted at libertyandprosperity.com to show why they don't work. Because the wind comes and goes, the wind is weak, this energy can't be stored, and that's why they had all the blackouts and brownouts and power failures in Texas and California. It just doesn't work. And then on top of that, the legislation will force everybody to drive an electric car. So now when the power fails, you can't even drive anywhere. So it's really going to fundamentally destroy America and turn us into a third world country. So now you say, well, who in the heck would ever support anything this asinine and destructive? And that's where the $3.5 trillion comes in. They basically admitted that the purpose of the $3.5 trillion is to promise something to every Democratic politician in America. So they will support this. And it's just bribery, pure and simple. That's why they needed the $3.5 trillion. It takes that much money to pay people into supporting laws that will destroy America. And then they said we had one other thing going for us. So the interviewer on National Public Radio would say, well, how are ordinary Americans going to put up with this? And they said, we're going to use fear. We're going to convince the public that every person who dies from every storm, every tornado, every flood, every hurricane, we're going to convince them that it's caused by climate change, and if they don't support this radical measure, then people are going to die. And it really is the most chilling thing I've ever heard. It's absolutely diabolical what they're doing. And you have to admire the courage of that Senator Salima or I forget her name, from Arizona, and Manchin in West Virginia, because they are the only two people, together with the Republicans, who are saving us from this. So we have to wake up and realize what's going on.
You know, you always hit it right on the head for us. I mean, this whole thing, they talk about trillion now like it's 50 cents, 3.5 trillion, I mean, eventually we got to pay the piper, don't we?
Well, no, we're not going to pay the price. We're not going to pay the debt. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why, we have our disagreements on Donald Trump, because in a way he normalized this $1 trillion, which is $1,000 billion, which is 1,000, a million, and a million is 1,000, a billion is 1,000 million. This is 1,000 billion. So the fact is no one's even talking about paying the money back. So what happens when you spend a whole lot of money and you don't pay it back? Well, what it does is it ruins the currency. So when they talk about prices are going up and people are buying homes and people are buying property, people are doing anything to get the money out of their bank accounts because they know their money in a bank account is going to be worth less. No matter what you invest in, it's going to be worth less. So you have to buy gold, you have to buy real estate, you have to buy stuff you could touch and see. And it brings that memory. When I was a kid in Atlantic City, I'd say all the doctors, all the lawyers, all the people with businesses, they would have these safes in their basement. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do.
But that safe was about 5 feet high. It must have weighed a couple of tons. And I remember when my parents sold their house on Pacific Avenue to Steve Lynn, they bought the wrecking ball, and I go by and I see my childhood home. It's all rubble. But that safe in the basement is still standing up, in the rubble. That's what, and it was normal. People didn't put their money in banks. People didn't put their money in the stock market, and now you could see why. I wonder if anyone's going to get back in the business of doing that. So that's what's going on, and we really have to wake up. And that's why, by the way, Liberty and Prosperity, we talk about, we had a whole piece on the Ice Age. And the cartoon, remember the cartoon called Ice Age, came out in 2002. There were 4 sequels to it.
Yeah.
Very popular children's cartoon. And then suddenly, about 15 years ago, it disappeared. And it's not on child's TV. It's almost impossible to get it. So what was bad about that? Because if everybody knows that we used to have an Ice Age, and if everybody knows that Ice Age was 10,000 years ago, and we had saber-toothed tigers, and we had woolly mammoths, and we had ice sheets covering most of New Jersey. And then 10,000 years ago, the earth got warmer and it all melted. So what caused the earth to get warmer 10,000 years ago when people were sort of hunting woolly mammoths? Was it the campfires at the cave that did it? So now we know that the climate got warmer and human activity had nothing to do with it. So how do we know that the warming going on right now is just a continuation of something that started 10,000 years ago? And who is talking about that? Nobody's talking about it. So that's my biggest argument. If you want to destroy our economy, get us used to the fact that you're in the hospital for open heart surgery in the middle of the operation, suddenly the power goes out. You can't go anywhere else because your car won't start because there's no power. And we're going to ruin American life over that and then say, well, why did the earth get warmer 10,000 years ago? And nobody's answering it. I have time. I just want to get one more thing in.
Go ahead.
Also.
Go ahead.
And that's on immigration. Now, one of the big lies is that America was a miserable place. We had child labor. People worked 7 days a week. People lived on starvation wages. And then suddenly the unions came along and gave us middle-class wages, vacations, paid vacations, weekends off, and so on. That's a big lie, because if you go into history, you'll see all that wealth took place in the 1920s when unions were basically insignificant in America. So what was it that caused American prosperity? And that was limits on immigration. Until 1914, you had unlimited immigration to America. Anyone who wanted to come could come here. But then World War I came along, and there was no immigration for 6 years. And then in 1920, we had our first immigration law that put limits on immigration to a very, very small amount, an amount that we can manage. And look what happened when we limited immigration. Suddenly, labor became more expensive. Workers became scarce. So the businesses had to pay more salary, give more benefits, and to get production going, they invented all these wonderful machines that mass-produced everything, and that created the American miracle, the limit on immigration. And isn't it amazing that as soon as Ted Kennedy started the open borders back in 1965, that's when we got the poverty, that's when we got the riots, that's when we got the income inequality. So limiting immigration is key. And to enforce immigration laws, and this is something Americans don't have the stomach for, with all due respect to Trump, you can't enforce immigration laws with a wall. Because if people know if I get over the wall, I'm going to have American citizenship for me and my family, no. Because then people will try 9 times, and if they fail 9 times, they'll succeed on the 10th time. The only way to enforce immigration laws is if somebody is here illegally, you have to send them back. And if you send them back, then the coyotes don't get paid, then all the people who invested money to get here don't get paid, and then it stops. That's why you don't have this problem in North Korea, you don't have it in Cuba, you don't have anywhere else. You know, if you're caught in another country and you have no business being there, if you don't go to prison, you're thrown out. And unless Americans have the stomach to enforce immigration laws, then, you know, we're lost. Because what we're saying is you can't have a good life unless you come to America. And what the Statue of Liberty says, if you actually look at the Statue of Liberty, it's really liberty holding a torch, looking at the rest of the world, and it's really saying we have a good life here, and if you want the good life that we have, liberty's holding the torch in one hand and our Declaration of Independence in the other. Well, you follow the rules of our Declaration of Independence. We hold these rights to be self-evident. We're all created equal. Governments are instituted to secure these rights. So what we should be trying to do is not to make America the home of everybody in the world, but make American ideas of liberty and freedom and innovation and the rights of each individual. If we could get that elsewhere in the world, then the whole world would be a Hong Kong. The whole world could be as rich as we are. But instead, we're just ruining our country, and we're not making the rest of the world any better. LibertyandProsperity.com. I'm late for the meeting. Let me head over to Sal's Cafe at 9:30 to 10:30. We invite everyone to continue the discussion there, or go LibertyandProsperity.com. Everything I wanted to talk about and did get to, posted there.
Okay.
John, as always, thank you very much.
Thank you, Seth. LibertyandProsperity.com is the website. Well said, as always, by Seth Grossman, especially on the point of immigration. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5, and I'm John DeMasi. A rare moment in our show where we have open lines. Wow. That doesn't happen too often, but hey, if you want to jump in, 609-407-1450. We started to talk in the beginning of the show about the C-SPAN historians, the rankings of the presidents, and they ranked President Trump 41. George W., who was a terrible president, they ranked him 29. Come on. Ridiculous. But anyway, that's what we talked about. 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi. More Talk with a Purpose after these words.
Joe Yakovich is registered with, and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company. When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. And you can listen to Joe Yakovich Saturdays here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 FM. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, later on in the show, if we have time, I'm going to try to get to this. Something I completely and totally do not understand. I say that a lot here on the show, but this one I really don't get. And we've never really talked about it here on the show. This whole issue of the needle exchange in Atlantic City. I mean, I really don't understand it. And we'll get to that shortly. But for now, we'll get back to the phone. 609-407-1450. Bill is in Ocean City. Bill, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
Morning, John. I was listening to you and Seth talk about global warming and climate change. And one thing people never talk about is the sun. All the climate fanatics never mention it. It just so happens that recently there's some good articles, one from American Thinker, that says there are solar scientists who tell us that our Earth in 2020 started the very beginning of a modern grand solar minimum. It's recognized that the sun has cycles in its output of energy and light. It cycles every 11 years. But every 400 years, the cycle changes and the Earth or the sun puts out a lot less. They've been counting sunspots for centuries, and the sunspot output of the sun seems to correlate with the total solar radiance its output. And so far, since 2020, we're on track for a surprising lack of sunspots and a decline in solar output, which they predict will reach a minimum somewhere around 2028, 2030 something. So we could be in for global cooling. Now, it's controversial. If you go to different websites, you'll have people say it's anywhere from a dramatic ice age to, a lot of bunk and nonsense. But the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and even NASA have said that, we seem to be on course for an unusual decline in solar output. So if we do reach a solar minimum, we only have about a decade to get rid of it. To get ready for it. And the crazy climate change warmers who want to cool our planet are actually going in the wrong direction. So it's something that interesting, a little diversion from all the news of the day, but it's, I think, important news that's not being discussed or debated.
Bill, are you saying in a way that now if let's say we get solar energy in our homes, that it's not going to do us any good? Is that your point?
Well, no, my point is the worst case scenario is that we reach another grand solar minimum. The last one was about 400 years ago. They call it the Maunder minimum. When crop output globally was declined, there was starvation, there was increase in volcanic and extreme weather activity as a result of it. So we're not prepared for a grand cooling of our planet that may be on the horizon. Solar energy is very shallow energy. It's not like fossil fuel, which is very dense energy, and windmill fuel that's very shallow. It's very expensive, and it doesn't produce much. And all these windmills may freeze up in 10 years if the predictions are true. So a lady named Valentina Zarkova, a solar scientist. There actually are many solar scientists, but they never get any FaceTime or attention.
It's a complicated subject, really, Bill. It's very complicated.
Yeah, well, the point is the sun isn't constant. It changes. Yeah. It increases and decreases its output.
Yeah.
And sometimes it decreases its output for a prolonged time that can last decades.
Yeah.
So we should be prepared for that and really look at that closely. The scientists should really try to predict whether or not that's going to impact us. So far, since 2020, the 11-year cycle seems to be changing, and the solar output seems to be slowly decreasing more than we would predict it to do on an 11-year cycle. We should be seeing increased sunspots, increased activity when we're not.
Yeah. Well, it's very, very detailed and good stuff, Bill. Thanks a lot for the call. You've certainly studied your subject. You've done your homework. Science was never my subject. Believe me, I struggle in science in school. But in any case, good call from Bill. Thanks. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We've got Bob, we've got Frank, and we have Walter. We'll take you all in that order after the break at 609-407-1450. Coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment. You know, we've been talking for the last month about the Best of the Press and B.F. Mazzeo, and you know they were nominated. And, of course, the vote campaign was out the whole month of September, and now the votes are finished. And I know who won, but I can't tell you. But who do you think won? Who do you think won for Best Produce Market and Best Gift Baskets? Did I say that? No, I didn't say that. No, you didn't hear that here. Well, you figure it out, okay? We will announce it officially in a couple of weeks. But listen, would it be logical for you to think that they would win Best of the Press? Of course. B.F. Mazzeo, Chestnut Avenue and Route 9, that's New Road in Northfield. We've often talked about the finest fresh fruit and produce. We talked about everything they have, fruit baskets, gift baskets, baked goods, prepared foods. You name it, it's there. Gourmet specialties galore. There's a whole section in the store of gourmet specialties. And something I have never mentioned, and last week I'm walking around in the store and I said, you know, I've never mentioned it's called First Pressed Olive Oil, direct from Italy. It's right there. They already have it bottled. I mean, can you get any better, any fresher than that? Of course not. It's all right there. B.F. Mazzeo, again, Chestnut Avenue and Route 9, that's New Road in Northfield. Now, of course, we're getting into the fall. Yes, there's pumpkins. Yes, there's all the things that you're going to do for Halloween. You know, you're going to have a Halloween party. You're going to have some people over, and you're going to celebrate. Well, what you want to do is maybe get some salads together, and they'll customize it for you. Let's say you need 5 pounds or 10 pounds of macaroni salad or potato salad. You just call them up and order it. Say, listen, I'm going to need it for such and such day. That's what you do. They specialize in that as well. B.F. Mazzeo, Chestnut Avenue and Route 9. That's New Road in Northfield. Online at bfmazzeo.com. That's bfmazzeo.com. Tell them you heard about it here on Talk with a Purpose. We're coming back with more of the show after these words.
Have you heard his attack ads? Phil Murphy's lying about me again. I would too if I had his record. I'm Jack Chittarelli. Phil Murphy's failed us at every turn. He told us he wanted to make New Jersey the California of the East Coast. He wasn't kidding. Phil Murphy increased state spending $11 billion. Are you any better off today than you were 4 years ago? Murphy's about to raise taxes on businesses who barely survived his shutdown, and the rest of the country is lapping us in economic recovery. The lines at motor vehicles are a joke. Crime is raging, with murders and gun violence up 40%. And he tried to ban cops from notifying parents if their kids are caught with drugs or alcohol. Who does that? And while New Jersey has the highest property tax in the nation, Phil Murphy says if taxes are your issue, then we're probably not your state? Come on, Phil. With a record like that, no wonder you want to change the subject.
New Jersey can do better. With Jack Chittarelli as governor, we will. Paid for by Chittarelli for Governor, Inc., P.O. Box 427, Somerville, New Jersey.
East Coast Roofing and Siding, protecting what you love and own. East Coast Roofing and Siding, trust us with your family and home.
Hey, South Jersey, this is Sean Steitler with East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows. For over 40 years, we have been providing the best solutions for residential roofing, siding, window, and door projects for South Jersey homeowners. Did you know East Coast is partnered with the largest lenders in the country? This means you can get your home improvements taken care of today with today's pricing and pay for it over time. Prices are always increasing, but yours don't have to. We have options for everyone, regardless of the size of your project. Call 609-625-1900 or go to eastcoastroofing.com today to schedule your free consultation. That's 609-625-1900 or eastcoastroofing.com. Remember, South Jersey, if you'll call, we'll show up.
East Coast Roofing and Siding, trust us with your family and home.
Your WPRN WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. Mostly sunny today, high 77. Clear skies and cool tonight, low 59. Warm tomorrow with times of clouds and sun, high 82. Turning cloudy, warm and humid tomorrow night, low 66. Monday, very warm and humid with times of clouds and sun, high 82. I'm AccuWeather's Alexa Weisberg on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
And we're back here on Talk with a Purpose. If you want to email me during the week, it's simple, and I do get plenty of emails, and I appreciate your input during the week. JDADV1 at Comcast.net. JDADV1 at Comcast.net. That is our email address. And, of course, if you want to get into the 21st century, like us on Facebook. Our Facebook address, at Talk with a Purpose. At Talk with a Purpose is our Facebook address. And that, of course, is our show, Talk with a Purpose, every Saturday, 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Let's talk to Bob and Cape May. Bob, good morning.
Hey, good morning, John. Look, a couple points here. The Greenland and Iceland, okay, they were both, and Greenland, that actually was, there was, I think there may have even been farms in Greenland thousands of years ago. It was green. It was not ice capped with ice. So the Earth has had warm periods, and then we have cold periods. Okay, and this idea that we need to change our policies so radically to make life so expensive for these so-called greenhouse gases, it's ludicrous. This is not established science. Electric cars. The crazy Biden administration wants to mandate electric cars. So much more expensive to maintain, drive, and buy an electric car. You're not saving money. You're costing hardworking, middle-class people of this country a ton more money by the so-called Green New Deal.
Yeah.
It's a killer for working people. Now, John, I want to the idiocy of this ranking of Trump versus Bush, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, what?
It's insane.
Yeah, it is.
Bush has a guilty conscience.
Yes, he does.
He has blood on his hands.
Yes.
He paints wounded soldiers. He paints them, and maybe it's some kind of therapy for him. But he how much American blood and treasure did he waste with his unnecessary wars? He put our country into an almost depression-like economic state in 2008.
Yes.
He was responsible single-handedly for the Democrat sweeps in 2008.
Yes.
The socialist Democrats that now control this government. And what did Trump do? We had peace and prosperity. We had an unbelievable economy until the communist Chinese unleashed their virus on us.
That's
you
right.
take that virus out,
he's reelected. He's reelected.
Exactly.
Yep.
We would have had peace and prosperity for a long, long time.
Yes, that's right.
So, that's really ludicrous.
Yeah,
So,
you're right, Bob. I mean, I don't know how he sleeps at night. I mean, if I was responsible for all those kids dying in a war that wasn't really a war, weapons of mass destruction, remember that? Oh, they weren't there. They weren't there. He lied.
John, the Bush family, it's part of an elitist group.
Yes.
You look at some of Bush's former aides. You got Nicole Wallace. She's as liberal as could be on MSNBC.
Yeah.
You look at this guy Steve Schmidt that ran McCain's campaign. These people, again, they're all part of the same establishment.
Yeah.
It has a condescending attitude toward working people that really make this country go. And it permeates our country here. It's like it's a class it's almost like a class warfare situation.
Absolutely.
They don't care.
Absolutely.
These people don't care. They think they're privileged, and they, I'll give you another quick example here. Do you remember during the first Republican debate in 2016, all the candidates raised their hands and pledged to support the eventual nominee, and Jeb Bush was up there raising his hand the highest because he thought he was going to be the
That's
nominee.
right.
Because all the money was with Bush. And what happened? When Trump became the nominee, guess who didn't support him?
Jeb Bush.
His brother, and President Bush didn't support the nominee either. And they have done everything to undermine Trump in the long run. So, again, these people have no honor. They have no honor at all.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Bob, thanks a lot for the call. Always a pleasure. And let me tell you how much I was against George W. And again, for the most part in my life, I voted Republican. And I voted for him in 2000. 2004, he ran again on family values. And I said to myself, this guy is the worst. I voted for the Democratic candidate. Who was it then? I think it was John Kerry. And I remember telling my friends I'd vote for a dog before I'd vote for George W. again. That's how much I thought he was a terrible president. So how can these people rank him 29th? He shouldn't even be ranked. That's how bad he was. Let's talk to Frank in Ventnor. Frank, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, good morning, John.
How you doing, Frank?
John, first I apologize. There's a leaf blower outside my front window, and I can't get any further away from it than I am now.
That's quite all right. It's probably Joe Yakovich,
Yeah. Then I'll go help him afterwards.
Yeah.
So, John, before I get to my topic, you know from my emails, climate change is my thing. So I just want to mention a couple quick things since it's already been mentioned.
Yes.
Sun output, if you go to the NASA site, and I'm talking about NASA and NOAA, which other people have mentioned, it's been decreasing for 70 years, sun's output, and yet the temperature is still rising. Greenland was always had farms on the southern part, and that's where you still find the Viking ruins if you go there now. And another thing, there are no known cycles that happen in just 150 years. Last 150 years, we've seen 2 degrees of rising, and we've seen a dramatic rise in carbon dioxide. So that's all I'll say about that. My real topic, John, is just quickly, over the weeks, people have been mentioning about abortion. They've either said it was murder or immoral and that it should be outlawed. But in the same breath, they also say, oh, but I want an exception for rape and incest.
Yeah.
And my question is for people that have their thinking, what about the fetus that is aborted from a rape or an incest? Isn't that an innocent life? I don't understand how it could be murder, but then it's okay if you murder a baby conceived from rape or incest.
Well, I think I know it's contradictory in a way, Frank, but what I think people are saying is, there should be some kind of an out. I think the bigger issue is if the life of the baby or the mother is threatened if the pregnancy continues. I think that was another contingency, and I think that was included. So I think you have to have something where, a person can get out, but it's rare. And I think we kind of came to the conclusion here on this show that it's a rare occurrence, and it should be allowed to happen, particularly like if it's your daughter and she's pregnant and she may end up dying. You wouldn't want her to go through it. So if an abortion saves a life, well, that's where the real difficult question comes in. And I think we need to have some contingency. But you're right. It's still a life that ends. Whether it was, so you're right. But, I think you have to have some kind of an exception. And, Frank, as always, thanks for the call. And thanks for your emails. Frank likes to give an evaluation of my show after the show, which I appreciate that. I like the thoughtful input. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5. We'll talk to Walter after the break, and maybe we'll talk to you at 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi. Final thoughts in hour number 1 on Talk with a Purpose after these words.
If you're struggling with alcohol or drugs, Recovery Centers of America can help. RCA's local inpatient and outpatient programs are founded on science and delivered with heart from an expert, caring team who will inspire and guide you every step of the way. Call 1-888-RECOVERY now to speak with a treatment advisor. At RCA, you'll be in a community that builds connections and fosters support from peers and RCA's team of medical professionals and recovery support specialists. At RCA's state-of-the-art campuses in Devon, PA and Mays Landing, New Jersey, they tailor your treatment to you and also offer specialized programs for patients with history of trauma, for patients who have achieved recovery but are experiencing a relapse, for young adults, adults 50 years and older, a confidential program for first responders and military, and a faith-based program. RCA answers the phone and accepts patients 24/7. And because it's local and in-network with insurance providers, treatment is affordable and accessible. Don't wait. Call 1-888-RECOVERY today.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently number 1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or, if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, we were observing before the show, discussing the gas tax that went down in New Jersey as of yesterday, 8 cents. Did you notice gas prices going down 8 cents? I checked my one gas station this morning on the way in. Same as it was yesterday and the day before and the day before. Oh, only in New Jersey. Talk with a Purpose, of course, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5. Walter is in AC. Walter, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning. Good morning. I just want to say this. As a John F. Kennedy Democrat, Harry S. Truman Democrat, RFK Democrat, Henry Scoop Jackson Democrat, because I'm very strong on national defense issues, I am of the belief that, don't lump me in with other extremist elements of my party, because I'm one that thinks for myself.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, I did approve of some of Trump's policies when it came to dealing with China.
Okay.
When it came to dealing with trade issues, I think it was way past time for a lot of these presidents, be they Democrat or Republican, to start getting tough with how we look to deal with that country. That's number one. I did not favor Trump's environmental policies because it seems to me like he wanted to roll back every conservation success story that was attained over the last 100 years. He wanted to roll back the Migratory Bird Treaty. He wanted to roll back the Endangered Species Act. He wanted to roll back the Clean Air and Clean Water Acts, the National Environmental Policy Act. He wanted to do all this to give industry a free pass to pollute, to environmentally rape and pillage, all in the name of pursuing profit maximization at the lowest possible cost. He didn't say, I'm going to provide industry regulatory relief in exchange for certain concessions that will result in scaling up alternative approaches to conservation.
Okay.
If your facility...
I got you.
Okay, if your facility, for example, is killing a lot of birds, You need to do something to mitigate the number of birds that are being killed, to reduce the number of birds that are colliding either with your power lines or with your industrial facilities or whatever else that you're doing. I'm not going to just provide you regulatory relief from the Endangered Species Act or the Migratory Bird Treaty or any other law that is designed to protect our wildlife so that you can just do whatever you want willy-nilly with no penalty.
Well, Walter, I hear you. I think what the reasoning was, as far as Trump is concerned, is that he was concerned about business first. And I understand what you're saying. I'm not real big on environmental conserving. I understand. We don't want to kill birds. I get that. But
hey, we are under a biblical obligation of stewardship, trusteeship. That's not to be conflated and perverted with ownership, because who died and rendered mankind God? The Almighty is not dead and never will be.
Right.
We did not set anything in motion down here. We didn't create this planet. We did not put the water out here in this ocean. We did not put the elements in our atmosphere above our heads. We did not put a single bird, a single fish, a single mammal down here. We didn't create nothing.
Okay, but Walter, what is your...
we think we own.
What?
We think we own. We think we're the master of this planet. We think we own this planet, but yet, when nature fights back, we don't want to pay the price tag for when nature refuses to bow and bend to our will. We couldn't even stop Hurricane Sandy from hitting Atlantic City, now could we?
No, we couldn't. You're absolutely right. We could not do that. You're right.
But yet we can be so arrogant in our hubris.
Well, I wouldn't call. I don't know, Walter.
I am calling it.
I don't know what you can call it arrogance. I mean, what are we supposed to do? We supposed to let the birds run the planet? I mean, I don't. I get your.
Animals were created before mankind was
I understand that.
Here.
I understand that, but
and you know what? Who's to say we may be leaving before they or their descendants
that's true.
Planet and going extinct.
That's true, Walter. Thank you for the call. Unfortunately, we have a thing here in radio called The Clock. We have to break for the news. Talk of the Purpose, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5, and I'm John DeMasi. Hour number 1 in the books, hour number 2 on the way. You know what we say, don't go away.
.5 FM and 1450 AM WPGG Atlantic City, WENJHD3 Millville, a Town Square Media station.
DeMasi, the opinions expressed are not those of Town Square Media or station advertisers.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now, the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 2, Talk with a Purpose, every Saturday 9 till noon right here, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. As always, a pleasure to have your company for our Saturday morning get-together. And as always, our number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. I will try to get to this thing about the needle exchange in this hour, but first I wanted to talk about this. And it seems like, you know what, especially since I've been doing this show, you know what bothers me about people in general when it comes to elections is like people don't pay any kind of attention to, you know, the issues and what's going on for the most part. And I'm not saying people who listen to this show, because they're very informed. I mean, some of our callers, and you hear them, I mean, they really have their stuff together. But, you know, in general, you talk to people and you say, well, Murphy did that? I said, did you know that Murphy? Oh, no, I didn't know that. Well, did you know who the guy who's running against him, Jack Ciattarelli? Oh, I didn't know. Who is he? You know, you understand, like, you're talking about the governor of your state where you live and work. So with that being said, and Al, hang in there. I'll get to your call. this week, a survey came out done by Stockton University based on the gubernatorial race. And what they did was they surveyed some people. And the headline read, and again, if you're not informed, if you don't listen to this show, I'm not saying you have to be informed, but if you don't listen to this or you don't listen to Harry or you don't follow this or you don't read about it, here's the headline that you read. Stockton University does a poll. Murphy leading Cettarelli with pandemic as major issue. And I looked at that and I said, what? First of all, the headline is disturbing. In one part of the survey, people said Murphy would handle the pandemic better than Cettarelli. What planet were these people on? Were they in New Jersey? Can you imagine that people saying Murphy would handle the pandemic better than Cettarelli? First of all, Cettarelli wasn't governor. Okay, that's number one. Number two, Murphy is the one who put infected people in nursing homes, which led to the spread of COVID. So how is that handling the pandemic? Murphy closed churches, which according to the Bill of Rights, you're not supposed to do. Murphy also said, well, we're not going to cooperate with ICE. Tells his attorney general, listen, don't cooperate with ICE. If you arrest somebody who's an illegal, don't cooperate with ICE. Don't send them back. What? That's Murphy. So this survey was taken, and again, I respect Stockton, but can you imagine that this survey, 41% of the survey, they disapproved of Murphy's performance. Top issues are taxes in general, property taxes, and the economy. None of these are Murphy strong points. So again, my question, what are these people thinking and who are they surveying? Was it Murphy's family? Which again bothers me that the general masses tend to be uninformed. And uninformed can lead to another 4 years of Murphy. I hope not. I really hope not. And that's why this show, we have taken a crusade to get Phil one and done in 21, as they say. But imagine, 45% of their surveyed said they weren't familiar with Cettarelli. I mean, have you been watching TV? Have you seen all the ads? And the Murphy ads are ridiculous. I mean, the Murphy ads are such blatant lies. It's unbelievable. I'll talk more about that in a moment. 609-407-1450. It's Talk with a Purpose, Saturdays 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5, and I'm John DeMasi. Al in Corbin City. Al, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning. How you doing?
How you doing, Al?
Good. I wanted to address something that your last caller said.
Yes.
Number one, I never heard Donald Trump talk about doing anything to destroy clean water and air. I heard him going to get rid of some bad environmental rules, like the fact that we don't clean out forests or underbrush so that when they catch on fire because of some beetle or mouse that jumps around, and it burns millions of acres of trees and burns people's homes down in California over a stupid Species Act. Yeah, I think that, there's a reason to do that. I mean, it seems like to me that the people that want to worry about windmills, but they don't really want to realize how many birds these windmills kill trying to make alternative energy.
Yeah.
And I am also a believer that what he says that we're stewards of this earth. But I also know that God made us to be the only being on this planet that has intelligence enough to know right and wrong, and to conceive things and to create things. You don't see no monkeys or apes building houses, and you don't see monkeys and buildings putting plumbing in, and you don't see them going to church on Sunday or their synagogue or their mosque. And we're different from the animals.
Yeah.
We are supposed to take care of them. We are supposed to be responsible for them. And there's no nation in the world that does a better job than that than the United States.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Al. I agree with you. No, yeah, I think didn't the religion teach us that God made us in His image and likeness? Wasn't that part of our religious training? Do you remember that?
First part of Genesis. It's the first thing Genesis says. And just clarification, when he talks about He's made in His image, part of His image is that God likes to create things.
Yes.
And so does man. Man likes to, people. I don't want to get genders here, People like to create things because God gave us that part of us that want to be like that, to create and become, and sometimes it's a problem because that's when we get the pride in it. But the idea of creating things is one of the things that's the main thing about our Lord. That and the fact that He also we have a spirit and a soul.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a conscience. We have a conscience. Most animals, most things don't have any kind of conscience when they do. They just do what they're programmed to do.
Yeah. I always felt like, the animals are part of our existence, but we don't defer to them and hurt us by deferring to them. And I think Walter was inferring that, that Trump was killing birds and all of this stuff. And I agree with you, Al. I never heard him say that. I think he was concerned about too much regulation and freeing up business to do more with their resources than worry about environmental things. I totally agree with what you're saying. I don't think that was ever his intention. And a lot of people, and Al, again, thanks for the call. A lot of people, David Letterman, I stopped watching him because he had this Netflix show where he would interview different people, and I thought it was very interesting. I thought some of the interviews were stupid, but I stopped watching it when he went to somewhere. It was like Utah or Montana or somewhere where there was mountains, and he had this environmentalist with him, and he said, "Look at these mountains. Look at this, how beautiful this is. And Donald Trump wants to take this away." And I'm thinking to myself, where did Donald Trump say he wanted to take away mountains? And he started going on about the environment and environmental issues and blah, blah. I said, that's it. And I never watched another David Letterman interview on Netflix again. Well, he's the king of liberals, but he's just ridiculous. But Charlie the Pretzel Man is on the phone. Charlie, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John. I've been in and out of the pretzel deal all morning. I've been listening to you, and maybe I missed something, but I didn't hear anybody calling about the debate Wednesday night between Murphy and Citarelli.
No one.
You happen to watch it?
I didn't watch it. I kind of read the summary afterwards. I didn't watch it. I tried to find it. I couldn't. I don't know where it was, but anyway.
I'm going to tell you where to find it. I'm going to tell you where.
Okay.
All right. Go on to YouTube. On your smart TV, go on to YouTube and just type in, where it says search, type in
Murphy Citarelli debate.
Citarelli debate.
Okay. All right, I will.
God.
Tell me what's your consensus on what you saw?
Citarelli came away he was great. I mean, he was great. He was very cool. He was very calm, very collected, all right, very factual, okay? And Murphy was so upset. He was sweating. His shirt was all messed up. His tie was all messed up.
He should be upset. He should be. Yeah.
He should be. And Citarelli really made some great points, especially with the nursing home deaths. Right? I mean, it's worth to watch. It's an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
But it's really worth to watch.
Did you hear?
It's YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get it. Did you hear what I just was saying about the survey? Have you? Did you see this about the survey?
Sure.
Stockton did?
Oh, here, I'll give you another one, John. I'll give you another one. The day after, Stockton came out and said that Murphy did so well that his ratings went up 9 points.
Yeah.
After the debate.
Yeah.
And that's impossible.
It is impossible. It is impossible. Yes, I understand that. But then in the same article, they said it was a statistical tie. So, like, what? What's going on here? But did you hear that in their survey? And again, I respect Stockton, but people said that Murphy would handle the pandemic better than Cettarelli. And how could they say that? Cettarelli wasn't governor, was he? I mean, what?
No, absolutely not.
I mean, what are people? Do you ever stop and what are people thinking? Where do they get this stuff from? I just Charlie, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. I will certainly look up that YouTube debate and check it out. But listen, I know I can probably predict what's going to happen, but even though I haven't seen it. But the point is here. And the reason I bring up this survey is because we have to be informed. We have to be informed voters. Now, I will be honest with you. On occasion, before I did this show, we're now into our 6th year of doing this, and really do appreciate your support of the program. That, from time to time, I got a little lax. Maybe I didn't check out a candidate enough, but you really have to dig in and look. How can you possibly say that Murphy would handle the pandemic better than Cettarelli? How could you say that? Is that ridiculous or what? Murphy, who put infected people in nursing homes, and when we did a story on where those infections led to other states having more infected people. But yet he closed my friend's jewelry store, of which if he had 3 people in a store at one time, that's a lot. Closed down everything. Murphy. If taxes are your issue, then we're probably not your state. Okay. Phil, why don't you move out? Go back to Massachusetts. 609-407-1450. Robert is on the line. Robert, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning. We on the right, I'm a conservative, I'm a Christian.
Okay.
And we're just watching what is happening on TV every day, but nobody's doing anything. The left is actually doing everything they want. I mean, we got the border's wide open in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Right? We got this Afghan debacle. We got Americans still behind there. We have energy independence we lost, inflation, and it's like we're just watching, and it's kind of like they're telling us, you can't touch us. And I kind of feel helpless. What can we actually do to save the country and even our state? I feel helpless.
Well, the first thing, Robert, is when you go to the polls, or if you mail in or whatever, you vote Cettarelli. You vote Republican for governor. That's the first thing you do.
Always.
Secondly,
yes, always do.
Secondly, I don't know. First of all, there's more of them. All right, so we're fighting a battle, and people like my cousin who, I'm a liberal and I love it. I mean, these people, I don't know what they think they're doing, if they're helping the country or what. But what
I've heard people tell me.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They think the ones that think he's doing a good job. I want to hear from them. Where?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
There are some people that are all for Biden and for Murphy, and it's like, well, tell us where we're succeeding, and there's no answers to that. I'm so confused. Nothing makes sense anymore.
Yeah. Robert, I wish I had a solution, because I'd certainly broadcast it here. But all I can say is, vote for Cettarelli. That's the first thing. And secondly, just keep talking to people and keep doing things like you're just doing now, calling this show. I mean, you can't put up with this. And who are these people talking about Biden doing a good job? Where are they? What are they looking at? You know,
That's what I want to know.
I'm
so confused.
It's the same people that said, here, I just did it. I'll say it again. Murphy leads Cettarelli in this survey that Stockton did. Pandemic is major issue. They say Murphy would handle the pandemic better, but he didn't. So, I mean,
and it's all proven. It's all numbers.
It's all numbers, right?
Looking at?
What are they looking at? What are they doing? It's like saying the sky is green. Well, no, it's not. It's blue. I mean, it's like I really, you know what? It's frustrating, and I hear your frustration, and I feel it. Robert, thank you. I don't know. Listen, all I can do is come on here and say what I say. And I know a lot of you believe me. You know, I've said this many times. Democrats, call me. Call this show. If you disagree with what we're talking about, call. And let's talk about it. Do we hear from them? No. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. And I'm John DeMasi. We're going to talk to Matt after the break. And is this Cletus? Okay, we'll talk to Cletus and Matt after the break. And maybe we'll talk to you at 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi. It's Talk with a Purpose, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We're back with more of the show in just a moment. But first, right now, we're going to talk about something that is not controversial. Because, look, you find out for yourself, you drive for yourself the Lexus, courtesy of Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT. We were talking before the show today, and Chris and I were discussing buying a pre-owned vehicle as opposed to a brand new one. Now, me, I'm of the new car variety. I always get a new one. My niece goes into Lexus and gets a 2-year-old ES350. And her payment is $200 less than mine. So who was the smart one there? All right. So, you know, you can get a great car at a reasonable price. And her car, basically, hers is an 18, mine's a 21. All right, 3 years difference. But it's basically the same car. So if that's the route you want to go, you go that route. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT. Online at aclexus.com. aclexus.com. And I also want to talk about the hybrid. And, you know, we've talked about electric cars and gas vehicles and blah, blah, blah. But the Lexus hybrid, and you check this out, because we've talked about gas prices being over $3 and maybe going higher. We hope not. But the Lexus hybrid is getting 44 miles to a gallon. 44 miles to a gallon. So something to consider. Check it out for yourself. Their website, aclexus.com, aclexus.com. A great dealership, nice people, friendly, no pressure, no hype. They don't do business that way. I was in and out of the showroom in an hour. I had my brand new vehicle, and that was it. So same thing. I had a friend of mine do the same thing. My niece did the same thing. They don't take a lot of time. They'll get you in and out, and you'll be happy with what you've got. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT. Online, aclexus.com, aclexus.com. Tell them you heard about it here on Talk with a Purpose. Coming back with more of today's show after these words.
If you're struggling with alcohol or drugs, Recovery Centers of America can help. RCA's local inpatient and outpatient programs are founded on science and delivered with heart from an expert caring team who will inspire and guide you every step of the way. Call 1-888-RECOVERY now to speak with a treatment advisor. At RCA, you'll be in a community that builds connections and fosters support from peers and RCA's team of medical professionals and recovery support specialists. At RCA's state-of-the-art campuses in Devon, PA, and Mays Landing, New Jersey, they tailor your treatment to you and also offer specialized programs for patients with history of trauma, for patients who have achieved recovery but are experiencing a relapse, for young adults, adults 50 years and older, a confidential program for first responders and military, and a faith-based program. RCA answers the phone and accepts patients 24/7. And because it's local and in-network with insurance providers, treatment is affordable and accessible. Don't wait. Call 1-888-RECOVERY today.
I'm Seth Grossman for LibertyAndProsperity.com. For 20 years, we fought and lost a war against the Taliban. That word Taliban means students. young men learning from teachers. The teachers of the Taliban are called Wahhabis because they teach the doctrine of Wahhab. He was a scholar who lived in Saudi Arabia years ago. Wahhab taught his followers to kill, torture, or enslave anyone who disagreed with his strict version of their religion. The same Wahhabi schools that teach the Taliban also taught Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State, known as ISIS. The oldest Wahhabi school is in Deoband, India. There are thousands more in nearby Pakistan. They're lavishly funded by Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. How could we win a war against the Taliban or students if our friends and allies were their teachers, the people teaching them to hate and kill us? Learn more at libertyandprosperity.com. Help us reach more people, and then join us for breakfast any Saturday. Thanks.
East Coast Roofing and Siding, protecting what you love and own. East Coast Roofing and Siding, trust us with your family and home.
Hey, South Jersey, this is Sean Steitler with East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows. For over 40 years, we have been providing the best solutions for residential roofing, siding, window, and door projects for South Jersey homeowners. Did you know East Coast is partnered with the largest lenders in the country? This means you can get your home improvements taken care of today with today's pricing and pay for it over time. Prices are always increasing, but yours don't have to. We have options for everyone, regardless of the size of your project. Call 609-625-1900 or go to eastcoastroofing.com today to schedule your free consultation. That's 609-625-1900 or eastcoastroofing.com. Remember, South Jersey, if you'll call, we'll show up.
East Coast Roofing and Siding, trust us with your family and home.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose. Want to email me during the week, JDADV and the number 1 at Comcast.net. JDADV1 at Comcast.net. Feel free to email me anything you like. Get a lot of emails during the course of the week and do appreciate it. Appreciate your input. And, of course, our social media presence. Facebook, at Talk with a Purpose is our Facebook address. At Talk with a Purpose. Like us on Facebook. And our show, Talk with a Purpose, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5. Matt is in AC. Matt, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, Mr. Massey, how are you again? Second call, I'll be quick.
No problem. Take your time.
Listen, I wanted to echo what the last caller said, that we see all this debacle going on, whether it be on social media, TV, radio, et cetera, and nobody's doing nothing about it. Couldn't agree more with them.
Yeah.
But there's another side to blame, too. I blame a lot of the Republican higher-ups as well. I mean, this Mitch McConnell doesn't impress me at all anymore.
No.
He's lost it. He's like a relic roaming through the hallways, and he just gets steamrolled by these Democrats. He's got no backbone. There's several other Republican leaders that, I mean, some of them talk a good game, but I don't see anything happening once again, like the former caller said. I don't see anything happening.
Well,
so I got to be mad at some of the Republican higher-ups too, John. Well, what say you about that?
I agree to a point, but what we have to hope, Matt, see, Robert was asking, well, what do we do? All we can do is go to the polls. That's all we can do. So, Cettarelli's a start as far as governor is concerned. But next year, I mean, the Republicans, if they're smart, they'll get their act together and they'll have a clear and concise message like, are you sick and tired of the open borders? Are you sick and tired of diseased people coming in? Are you tired of inflation? Are you tired of paying, 80% more for gasoline than you did when Donald Trump was in office? See, they have to hammer home all those points, which they don't do. They don't do any of that. I mean, I'm in marketing, I'm in advertising. If I took them on as a client, I say, wait a minute. What are you talking about? Look at what they're doing. All you have to do is hammer home what they're not doing. And they are not doing a very good job of protecting us. They're not doing a very good job of keeping prices down. I mean, inflation is going wild. I mean, Biden did a good job handling the pandemic. Oh, really? Sleepy Joe? How'd you do with the borders, huh? I mean, that in and of itself, Matt, that's the key point. So why aren't they doing? I don't understand them. These are intelligent guys, but what are they doing? I don't understand it. I really don't.
I couldn't have said it better myself, John. Thanks for the call again.
All right,
and you
all
have
right.
a great weekend.
All right, you
We'll see
too,
what
Matt.
happens.
You too. Let's talk to Cletus. Cletus, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John. Good show.
Thank you, sir.
The Stockton poll you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you check, I believe that poll was done at least a week or more prior to the debate.
Yeah.
mean,
You're
it's
probably
not-
right. Yeah, you couldn't have done it. You couldn't have done it on Wednesday and had the results on Thursday. No, I agree.
No, it was a week or more old.
Yeah.
And, Stockton, you take their polls with a grain of salt.
Exactly right. I mean, how about Murphy leading Cettarelli with pandemic as major issue? What?
Well,
what?
No.
Where did this come from?
I didn't see the whole debate, but I saw enough clips to see that Murphy was clearly outclassed.
Yes.
I'm going to watch it also on YouTube, but the clips I saw, Murphy he's got to go, John.
Oh, he's got to go. You're absolutely right. In fact, we're gonna have a send off to him. Chris, I'll have you look for a song. I have a song in mind for the governor as a send off. So we'll be doing that. But Cletus, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Keith is in Northfield. Keith, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
How you doing, Joe?
John, it's John.
John, I'm sorry. Hey, why are they called barrier islands? Why are we building on them, right?
Yeah.
And then they complain about flooding and climate change. Really? Come on.
Keith, you're asking a question. Why? We could sit here for 3 hours on this show and ask why this, why that, why this, why that. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't understand environmentalists. I'm sorry. I don't understand any of that, and what the rational thinking is about that. So, I wish I had an answer for you, but it baffles me. I'll tell you, it baffles me.
Well, my son is in Northfield Schools and was asked by a social studies teacher why he believed in, or does he believe in climate change? And it was like, first of all, why is a social studies teacher asking this?
Yes. And how old's your son?
Unbelievable.
How old's your son?
12 years old.
You're asking a 12-year-old. I mean, is that ridiculous or what? Why are you asking why are you asking a 12-year-old if he believes in climate change? I don't think your son knows what climate change means. I mean, what is boy, oh boy.
Unbelievable.
Boy, that's a whole other subject, Keith, about what they're teaching in schools.
Right, John. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for the call, Keith. Appreciate it. Can you believe this? I could see them asking my grandson, well, do you believe in climate change? He's 9. I go, 9-year-old. Well, do you believe in climate change? And he's going to say, well, is that a computer game? I mean, I'll tell you, when you do this show, I go home and I sit there and I say, I don't believe some of the things that are out there in the world. I just don't. But anyway, we're coming up shortly on a break, and I want to get into this. We're talking about the Stockton survey and believe what you want. Please tell me about, this is another one that baffles me. I completely and totally do not understand this. And I think it's appropriate we talk about it because coming up in hour number 3 in the 11 o'clock hour, we have our Fighting the Opioid Addiction series with our partners, Recovery Centers of America. And we're going to be talking about recovering and the faith-based Christian program at RCA. But I wanted to talk about this needle exchange in Atlantic City. We've had a couple of calls here on the show about it. Quite frankly, I do not understand it. Now, the city voted against it, and the AIDS Alliance went to court, and Judge Mendez, who was a colleague of our good friend Judge Donio for many years, he has delayed a decision until November. I do not understand what positive aspects can come out of a needle exchange? If you have a reason behind it, if you know why, or if you want to give me some positives, feel free to call in at 609-407-1450. But when I look at a needle exchange, and again, this is how I see it, and I'm not Socrates or Aristotle, one of the world's great thinkers, but it's like having an alcoholic live next door to a liquor store. Like they're going to have this alcoholic rehab place and say, well, you're going to live right here, and the liquor store is right next door to you. Oasis is a health center for people with addiction in downtown Atlantic City. And in the last year, overdoses have skyrocketed around the entire country. It's not just Atlantic City. So the question is, does exchanging a safe, clean needle for a dirty one help the addiction crisis? Does it help overdoses? I don't understand why you have a needle exchange, and in a town that the number one industry is tourism. Do you get that? I don't. 609-407-1450 is our number. Coming up on a break, we'll talk about this and whatever you want to talk about at 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi. More Talk with a Purpose after these words.
The market is up. The market is down. I know from day to day there's a fair amount of volatility. You worry, I worry. We all worry, but not so much when you have a sound financial plan that doesn't depend completely on the market. Hi, I'm Joe Yakovich with this Money Minute. You'll find some real insights in my new book, The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In this book, I explain in detail how I approach financial planning, retirement, insurance, and many other topics. For a free copy of my book, The Heart of Your Money, simply contact my office at 856-751-1771. That's 856-751-1771. Or you can email me at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. And don't forget, I'm here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 with these Money Minutes. I'm Joe Yakovich with this Money Minute, and thanks for listening.
If you're struggling with alcohol or drugs, Recovery Centers of America can help. RCA's local inpatient and outpatient programs are founded on science and delivered with heart from an expert caring team who will inspire and guide you every step of the way. Call 1-888-RECOVERY now to speak with a treatment advisor. At RCA, you'll be in a community that builds connections and fosters support from peers and RCA's team of medical professionals and recovery support specialists. At RCA's state-of-the-art campuses in Devon, PA, and Mays Landing, New Jersey, they tailor your treatment to you and also offer specialized programs for patients with history of trauma, for patients who have achieved recovery but are experiencing a relapse, for young adults, adults 50 years and older, a confidential program for first responders and military, and a faith-based program. RCA answers the phone and accepts patients 24/7. And because it's local and in-network with insurance providers, treatment is affordable and accessible. Don't wait. Call 1-888-RECOVERY today.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. This afternoon, mostly sunny and beautiful. A nice start to the weekend, high 77. Tonight, clear skies, low 59. Sunday will be warm with a mix of clouds and sunshine, high 82. Monday will be very warm and humid with a mix of clouds and sun, high 82. I'm AccuWeather's Chris Morelli on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose. Don't forget we have our Talk with a Purpose replay every Sunday, 5 until 8. Today's show tomorrow, replayed. If you want to hear it again or you missed it, you want to hear it, that's what you do. 5 until 8 Sundays, right here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. And, of course, it's our live version of Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Just reading an article on this, on the lawsuit that the South Jersey AIDS Alliance is bringing against Atlantic City. And they say the ordinance to close the site recklessly harms clients by depriving them of essential health services and jeopardizes their safety and happiness as guaranteed by the New Jersey Constitution. Huh? So in other words, you're an addict, and we have to worry about your safety. I mean, I'm thinking, and the series that we're going to present to you at 11 o'clock, Fighting the Opioid Addiction, I would think that we should be concentrating on getting these people help. That's not help to me. Get them help. And if Recovery Centers of America can't help them, and let's say they don't have insurance, they don't have a way to pay for it, Recovery Centers of America sends them to someone who can help them. Why don't they do that? So we're going to help them stay addicted by giving them a clean needle? I don't understand the whole thing. I really don't. Joe in Smithville. Joe, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, John, we're talking about the drug war. So first, I'd like to congratulate marijuana for winning the drug war. We've been doing this stuff for 40 years. I agree the needle exchange doesn't belong in Atlantic City.
No.
But I think that, here we go. Here's the controversy. I think that you should be able to, and I've never shot drugs, never done heroin, not my generation's thing. But I think you should be able to go to your doctor if you're an addict and get what you need, and including the drugs for free and the needle, and let that person eventually either get to recovery or die. And, you know, what are we doing? We've played a cat and mouse game with the cops, with the recovery centers. Oh, yeah, the Recovery Center of America, $1,000 a night for a bed. Used to be you could go to a church's basement in a 12-step program and get clean. This is all stuff that we, I don't know, 50 years of this drug war, and the same people giving me the solutions again and again and again.
I know.
Nothing's happened.
No.
The failure is worse than Afghanistan. It's worse than Iraq, and it's worse than Vietnam.
Right.
But it's a funding source for police, for the pensions, and I think we need police for a lot of things, but not to fight the drug war. I take them right off the drug war.
Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. And, the thing is, it's sort of like with the needle exchange, it's kind of like feeding the habit. I mean, I that's why I don't understand it.
But let them feed the habit in their hometown, in their home,
that's
with
right.
their family. Let their family deal with it, because I don't buy the thing that, it just happened. No. You're on top of this stuff, and you know what your kids are doing. It ain't going to happen.
That's right.
Okay? It might happen, but you let Atlantic City solve these problems, and then you also have the mental health with schizophrenia and some of those people on the bus stop. There's mental disease, but the addiction, I don't care anymore. Give them the drugs. It's less money than funding the police, funding the prisons, funding the recovery centers. Let them, give them the drugs until they want to go into a recovery center or die.
Yeah, I agree. Joe, thank you. I agree. And especially Atlantic City. I mean, your number one industry is tourism. Can you imagine somebody goes to Atlantic City first time, and they happen to, let's just say they don't know any better, and they walk certain streets that you shouldn't walk, and they see that. They see, needle exchange. What? What is this? Well, I don't know if I want to come back here. They don't think about the beautiful casinos and the entertainment and the restaurants and all that. What did you see? You saw that. That's why, I agree with the council in Atlantic City. No needle exchange. Kelly's in AC. Kelly, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, John. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling, Kelly.
I was listening this morning to you as I do every day on the way to work, and totally agree with the drugs in Atlantic City is an absolute problem. But the needle exchange, I think, is a fantastic idea. And the argument that I heard about maybe a year ago from a friend of mine who is heavy into battling drug addiction and resources was simply that if we can get a point of contact with these people. That is what is most important, because that addict may not run into someone who can help them with recovery. But if they're going in to exchange their needles on a regular basis, people are able to build a rapport with them and trust with them and hopefully get them into recovery, whereas we may never see them otherwise. And so it creates this environment where people feel comfortable. They can come in, they have someone to talk to, and it gets them that one step closer to recovery.
Why do you just listed your reasons, but do you think it's a good idea for a town that really is completely dependent on tourism, that they have something like that in their midst? Do you think that's a good idea?
Trust me, I work and live in Atlantic City. I've done so for 2 decades. And a needle exchange center is not going to turn tourism off any more than looking at the jitney stops or looking what's transpiring on the boardwalk right now, or walking the boardwalk in Atlantic City and the overwhelming smells that you can't get away from. Not having needles on our beaches, not having needles on the sides of the streets, instead giving them a place to go in exchange for clean, it's a win-win situation.
Yeah,
Seeing one building that says needle exchange, I'd much rather know that those needles are in the trash than on the sidewalk.
Yeah, well, Kelly, I appreciate your call. You and I disagree on this issue, but continue to listen and continue to call, and we appreciate it. You have any other good points to bring out for that? But I can't see it. I just can't. But I've never taken a drug in my life, so this is not something that I do or that I understand. And certainly when we bring out this issue of fighting the opioid addiction, and you heard Joe talk about Recovery Centers of America, yeah, there's cost there, and if you have the right insurance, that'll pay for it. But it just seems to me that why should we cater to people that are doing harm to themselves and ultimately maybe do harm to others? I mean, I don't know if one addict leads to another. I don't know that. I'm not well versed in this subject. All I know is that if you have an addiction, you try to get help. And Kelly said, well, they may not have access to getting help. Listen, there are more programs, and if you remember Governor Christie, remember before he left office, he was on a campaign about, fighting the opioid addiction and so on and so forth. And I know the folks at Recovery Centers of America met with him. But there's more programs to help people. I mean, if you look into it, if you want to get help, you look into it, and help is out there. And a lot of it is free. I just had to laugh at this lawsuit that the South Jersey AIDS Alliance is bringing up and saying that safety and happiness is guaranteed by